Lions. With me, I've got the owner of the Patriots. I've got the
What's up,
owner
guys?
of the Jets
How you doing?
and the owner of the Saints with me.
How's it going?
And we're going to be talking about the NEFL today. We're going to go through the standings and we're going to look at the playoff picture to start us off here today. We'll start with the winning side since we only have one person here today that's actually in the playoff picture. So we'll take it to the Patriots, who are in the wild card hunt in the AFC. And
Yeah, so it's been kind of a rough past 3 games. Um, I just lost to the Dolphins today. They kind of blew me out. I think once I lost AP, the running game kind of started taking a hit, and just a lot of fumbles from the backups. I've lost 3 in a row. The last 2 games before this, I lost by, I think, 1 point and 2 points. So it's kind of been tough. Can't really close it out, and for some reason, I started throwing tons of picks. A lot of pick sixes this year. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but for some reason, I feel like the ball
Yep.
goes super low. A lot of the routes that used to work in the previous Madden, just like a lot of corner routes, just don't really work anymore. I feel like the ball just goes really slow and gives a lot of time for the secondary to react to kind of pick you off, and then
mm,
um, the offensive guys are just too slow to tackle like an elite corner or a safety, especially the offensive lineman. It's almost pointless to try to tackle the guy who picked it off with the offensive lineman. They just never get them, and they always just run it back. So that's kind of my division. The Dolphins are 7-4. Looks like he's redone his defense after his bye week. Came out with a lot of new looks. Got a ton of sacks on me. So he's 7-4 and 5-6. Then the Bills are kind of creeping on us a little bit, 4-6, and the Jets are 3-7. But I feel like the Jets owner, I know we have him here too. He's a tough out. I know I played him this year and it was super close. It came down to like the last second. So that's our division.
I mean, the top person in the entire conference in the AFC is 8-2 with the Browns.
I'm one
So,
of those two.
I mean, yeah, statistically speaking, you like the Browns could lose the rest of their games, and you could win the rest of your games, and you could end up with the number one seed.
Yeah.
So in
Right.
general, the AFC East or the AFC in general has there's no real clear cut
Yeah.
winner right now.
No, not yet.
Obviously,
That's a very good point. You did fall 2 games behind in your own division, but outside of that, having 5 wins, you're still 1 win behind the Broncos, Raiders, Bengals, who still have a game to play, and Broncos, Raiders, I'm pretty sure still have a game to play against each other. So somebody's got to lose there. The Chiefs only have a 1 game lead in that division, so that division's pure cutthroat right now. Talking about the AFC West. And then tied with you right now is the Ravens at 5-5. Could be 6-5 and jumping up to uh, the 6 win teams, or could be 5-6 just like you and the Chargers and end up. Or sorry, that looked like a 6. That's a 5. They still haven't played yet. So there's a few 5 win teams, a few 6 win teams, but um, yeah, no team has really ran away with it yet. As for that, but on the other side of the conference, there are 2 runaways, and then only a smaller chunk of people fighting for that wild card spot. I mean,
Yeah.
at the same time too, it's with all these 3-7 teams here, it's either the playoff picture is already decided with maybe 2 or 3 teams possibly shuffling, or maybe one of these teams collapses and an 8-8 team ends up making the playoffs here. It's a very interesting wild card race. I think the leaders are pretty much decided as far as divisions go. Um,
The
yeah, I don't
one
see the
thing that I
top
find,
changing honestly.
yeah, the one thing that I find interesting in the NFC is that the Packers, they're 5-5, right? They're 500, but they lead the entire league in total yards, and they lead the entire league in, um, I think passing yards. Yeah, passing yards. They're just above
not
the
getting it
Bills and
done.
the Raiders and the Falcons.
What's their points for? They're third in the league for points for, but they're also dead last in the league for points against. So
Yeah.
kind of seems exactly like Green Bay in real life. Offense amazing, defense you're all right sometimes.
Right.
But
But I mean, you're completely right. The NFC is pretty much set at the top with the Cards, Giants. Those two obviously haven't lost a game yet.
Are they going to lose the game this season?
well, let's take a look at their
Uh,
schedules and see
yeah.
who has the opportunity, and that all depends if they decide to sit people towards the end to protect from injuries, because injuries have been pretty high this season for some teams more than others. I seen
The
Patriots injury report the other day. I seen Dante Hightower. Uh, who else was on that list? There was a couple
Oh, I have
other.
a ton.
Yeah.
AP and I don't know, a bunch of guys.
So we were talking about the Cardinals. Since the Cardinals, see, I find the
Oh, the
Oh, they
Cardinals.
play
Giants
each other,
play the
guys.
Cardinals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
week 16.
So will that
That's gonna
be?
be game of the week.
Could that be game of the season technically? Since there's a
Yeah,
potential of them both
definitely.
staying
Yeah.
undefeated to that point.
I mean, they're definitely going to see each other in the playoffs. So
Yeah. I wonder if
probably conference.
Now here's a question: do you come out a little vanilla to not give away too much of your playoff strategy in this particular Week 16 matchup, considering at that point in time their playoff spots will be more than locked up?
I
Or
feel like
that's a home
Raider.
advantage game.
Is it? Oh, well, that's a good point.
That'll be a home field advantage game because if they're both undefeated going in, that'll be a 1-2 seed decision right there if they stay undefeated. They have like okay, who's I'm on Cardinals schedule. Cardinals plays Jeff next. So that's a potential slip there. We'll see how Jeff can manage against this Cardinals
Well, the
team.
Cardinals are Jeff's team from last year, so if anybody knows the team, it's him. There hasn't been too many trades.
So I only see what? I see three potential losses for the Cardinals. That's the Jaguars, which they face this week, the Giants at 16, and the Seahawks at 17. Uh, yeah.
All right, and
Austin
then
is like amazing.
on the other side, it was the
So
Giants. Who do the Giants have left on schedule? The Giants have the Skins, the Raiders, the Boys, the Eagles, the Cards, and the Skins again. So 2 games against the Redskins, 4 division games here in these last 6. What was his last game against Cowboys? Oh yeah, I watched that game. That was a high-scoring game. 48-43
um,
final. So that game
the
could have gone either
Giants,
way against the
the
Cowboys.
Giants have a better chance of going undefeated,
Yeah, their
I
schedule
think.
looks a little lighter than
Yeah.
the Cardinals' schedule. But
Yeah.
what was his game against the Eagles like? 45-28. That was a blowout, my lord. Chargers kept it close. Seahawks kept it close. Ish. 41-33. Jeez. No
Yeah,
wonder
well,
Josh
these
Dobbs
these two
is
teams, the Cards and Giants, are definitely the top dogs in the AFC or in the
in
NFC.
the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's going to be interesting to watch them.
Joshua Dobbs, the rookie quarterback for the Giants, he leads the entire league in touchdowns with 32, and he only has 6 picks with 62% completion.
Yeah, he leads the league in a lot more than than just that. He's currently the runaway to win MVP. It's like not even close. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
based on
I mean,
that,
Ajayi's
he's gonna
having a pretty good
obviously
season
get
too.
O'Roy. What are Ajayi's rushing touchdowns? Can anybody pull that up? I'm in the
Yeah, he's got
awards.
19.
Oh, wow.
19
Okay.
touchdowns or 19?
Yep,
That's a
19
lot of
touchdowns,
touchdowns.
19 rushing touchdowns. He's got 1,400 yards. He's
Damn,
averaging
and
8
it's only
yards per
week,
carry with
and
19 touchdowns.
that's only like through 10 games or 11 games played, depending
hmm
on when their bye week is. They're
I
seven
don't
and
see
four, so
Dobbs
that's
losing
11
MVP
games.
though.
No, not
I don't.
especially since he's a rookie. That's kind of impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Back to your point from before in terms of if they sit their starters or not in that Week 16 matchup.
Hmm.
I think that the Cardinals, if he's still undefeated by then, I think he probably will do that and will probably be a bit more vanilla. I think Sprint will want to definitely go for the W. Um, him, being himself, will probably want to do that. Um, so that's where I think the Cardinals is going to lose, just purely on him probably doing vanilla and wanting to not get any starters injured.
Like I said, that was like one of my first inclinations, but then when I noticed that the game might be for a home field advantage, I saw potential that they
Yeah,
might
but I mean,
not
come on, it's
go for that.
Madden, like
I would
it's
say that the Cardinals, if they're both tied and going for home field advantage, personally, as the Cardinals, I would try and win because
You don't
I
want
don't
to
think
play
home field
outside.
advantage plays. Yeah, I don't think home field advantage means anything for like a team like the Giants, the Steelers, teams like that. Because like I don't want to play in the snow, I don't want to play in the rain. I want to play in a dome, and it's just skill versus skill, and not have the snow play a factor in it. So
That's a great
that's
point.
my opinion. I
Damn,
think
I
the
I like
never.
Giants.
that.
I wouldn't really care if I was the Giants. If anything, I'd be like, oh, I want to go to a New Orleans. I want to go to a dome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I never really thought about it like that, but that's a pretty good point. Makes sense why some of these teams always end up as wild cards instead of winning their divisions outright. Yeah,
what
I'd
else
rather
with
go
these
play here.
divisions?
Pardon me?
What's out of my division in the NFC South, um, Falcons are one up over the Panthers. Um, 7-3 Falcons and 6-4 Panthers. I think that the Falcons are going to pull away and get that last spot. I think the Panthers will probably barely miss out on the playoffs.
He's had a nice comeback though, because at one point I think he was like 1-3 or 1-4.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was like 1-2, and then he went up from there. But I don't know. I just have that feeling. I know both of these guys, and I know their talents and such like that. I didn't
Falcons
really
are hard
look
to
at their
play
schedule, but
because he's really good at subbing his running backs depending on the downs. If it's short, he's going to put in Freeman, and if he's trying to do a stretch or a toss, he puts in Coleman.
Yeah, that I try to do something similar with the backfield I have of Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick because it's something that the Lions do in real life. When Theo Riddick comes on, it's a passing play. And when he's not on, then it's either a passing play or a running play. But he is a clear-cut indicator of that, and I, I find it works well because his catch and run ability is just through the roof. I forget. I think it was against. Uh, I forget who I was. I think it was my first game. I had a check down to Theo Riddick on like 3rd and 18 or something, and I think he ended up converting it, and it was unreal because it was so like it seems fake, but as a Lions fan and watching how Theo Riddick operates, it's like pretty accurate. Like we were all gonna look downfield, and then nothing was there, so to Theo and a little at least 10 plus yards after the catch if he wasn't in man coverage. But
Would
so
you
yeah,
say
I
in
took
real
a look.
life? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say in real life, it kind of seemed like when they were playing the Vikings that they really started to transfer a lot to Abdullah, kind of giving him the keys maybe to everything. He had over 20 carries. I'm
hmm
just remembering on top of my head.
yeah,
I live in Minnesota, so I was kind of watching the game a little bit with Red Zone, and it just seems like they're really starting to put a lot of their chips on Abdullah for the season. Maybe he's going to start to emerge as a really premier back out of there.
that was the hope for where he was drafted, and last year would have likely been the case had he not gotten injured. But for earlier on in the season, his workload was kept low because we were trying to balance the backfield and not overpile his plate to risk his injury recurring or possibly another injury entirely. So probably getting him up to, I guess, an actual game speed instead of just a practice speed was probably part of their itinerary for that, I would say, as a fan of the Lions.
Yeah.
I looked
But
at the Falcons' schedule.
yeah,
He's playing Bucks twice, and he's playing me twice. So that's 4 out of his 6 last games. Um,
jeez.
and then he's got the Vikings and the Panthers at week 17. So
Ooh.
yeah,
So what about the Panthers' schedule?
I know he plays me once.
Panthers have the
Him and I are
Jets
playing today.
after the bye week. Or no, that was the bye week. So yeah, they have the Jets. Oh yeah, he was looking for you. He says stop ducking him.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, we're playing in about an hour and a half or so.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, he's got the Vikings, the Packers,
Tune
the
in.
Falcons, Bucks,
Um,
me, and the Jets today.
so
So remaining
Vikings will be a
schedule,
tough ship.
Falcons have an easier one.
What did you guys do against them last time? Oh, he beat you by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then Packers. I could see the Panthers definitely competing for a wild card spot. They might not win their division based on the Falcons' schedule being easier and the lead already being there. But with them playing each other in Week 17, there could be a chance for a flip
It really
depending on
comes
how the
down
Falcons
to-
season plays out.
Yeah, it comes down to if me or the Bucks
Pull an
get
upset.
a win. Yeah, get an upset on the Falcons, I guess. So
'Cause-
we'll see, I guess.
Should we move on to the awards section, or is there any more part of the playoff picture that you guys are interested in looking at?
I think we kind of got it.
Yeah, I mean we hit the main ones, I think.
All right, so let's hit up the award column. So one of you guys says that you don't see Dobbs as an MVP, and what would be the reason for that?
I was saying I don't think he's gonna lose it to Ajayi no matter how many.
Oh, okay. I
Touchdowns.
that means I misheard you then. Whoopsie.
Yeah, just him being a rookie and a quarterback, like I don't know. I just
Yeah, MVP is generally a quarterback's award unless a running back
Yeah.
does something super stellar.
like even if he gets like 30 rushing touchdowns, at the pace Dobbs is going, I don't see him losing it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's pretty fair. And for Coach of the Year, it looks like it's going to come down to one of the three between Irma, Sprint, and Raider. But someone was pointing out to me in the last episode how ridiculous the point differential is between the Cardinals and the Giants in points allowed, like points against.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how that's based. I think that's purely record-wise. After that, I don't know what they go off of.
But if it were to come down to that, that would definitely be, for me at least, what separates the two of them at current point in time. Because if it does come down to just strictly the record, well then I feel like your point differential and other things would have to come into play. But first and foremost, your point differential definitely should play the strongest factor. And then if
I mean,
you
that's
guys
what
have the
the
same
vote
record
was.
with losses, then if it's a home loss versus an away loss, I would favor the person with the away loss over the home loss, just kind of like college football.
But yeah, that's all you'd hope. That's how it gets down. But again, this is Madden, so we'll see how they determine that.
Fair enough, fair enough. So let's move on, since those are some pretty dry categories as far as parity. So in the AFC for Offensive Player of the Year, there's 3 running backs leading the list, and 4 out of the top 5 are running backs. between Ajayi, Bell, Fournette, and Derek Carr, who has the best chance of running away with this Offensive Player of the Year for the AFC?
I don't know. Probably Ajayi.
Let's see. Let's go check the stats.
Yeah, I'd have to see Bell's and Fournette's stats and see how close touchdown-wise they are to Ajayi. But if Ajayi's already got like 20 or 21, that's pretty big.
All right. Well, the yards discrepancy alone is pretty enough to say that Ajayi is separate from every other running back, but Le'Veon Bell is only one touchdown behind him
But
as
he's
far
400
as
rushing
on
yards.
the ground. On the same
He's-
amount of attempts too. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
What about Le'Veon in the air? Is there any way to see that from back there? No. How about this? And he's got 386 yards and a touchdown in the air for Le'Veon Bell compared to Ajayi, who has 140 and no touchdowns. So let's see, 140 plus 419 is 559. So 1559 is Jay Ajayi's all-purpose. Le'Veon Bell is 1398. So almost 1400 yards all-purpose. So pretty much currently I'd say what's separating Le'Veon from Jay Ajayi is about 100 yards of all-purpose. Because they have the same
What
amount
about
of
the yards
touchdowns.
per carry?
The yards per
That's
carry
a
is huge.
pretty big difference.
But I think what Le'Veon is making up in the air, having almost 400 yards receiving, compared to, I think, what was it, what did I say, 140 for Ajayi? It's a little, it's tough because, I don't know, it's, like, I definitely see the case to be made, but their stats are pretty similar for the most part. How many catches are you working with here? 15
Yeah,
for
I mean, at this
140.
point,
They're
I
both
think
averaging almost 10 yards per catch too. So yeah,
I
Jay
think
Ajayi is
Bell and
definitely ahead of the
Ajayi.
pack, but it's not a
Yeah, I
runaway
think.
yet. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
runaway yet though. There's still some
You
ground to
could
be.
also, if Ajayi gets hurt, I think Bell is gonna
Or
eventually
if
take
just Ajayi
over.
has like one bad game and Le'Veon Bell just happens to keep his pace, then that could just
Yeah.
flip-flop them for 1 week. So this
Yeah.
race
So
is definitely
it's a
close
race
and something to keep
between
an eye
them
on.
two.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Unless
Let's
they
see what
both
David
get
Carr's
hurt.
looking like. Carr's thrown for 27 and 22, so Carr's not going to get it too many interceptions.
Yeah, I think everyone else under that is just done.
All right, let's look at the NFC. Or no, we'll stay in the AFC and we'll go to Defensive Player of the Year.
Christian Kirksey for DPOY.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then after him, it's Von Miller, Justin
Oh,
Houston,
you know what? That
and
makes
Cliff
sense.
Averill.
Irma's an incredible user, so
He
that
really
makes a lot
is.
of sense. Yeah. So that explains everything. He's probably got like 50 picks with this guy.
I wish I could check their player cards from here. I kind of hate that I have
Yeah,
to go
it's
to.
really annoying.
Can somebody pull up Kirksey's stats? And then
Yeah,
Von
I'll do
Miller
it.
in Houston. See, is it a runaway in that category right now, or are Von Miller and Justin Houston in the race?
So hold on, I'm getting to it.
Because like I see some pretty like big names here. Like even at sixth place, you have Shazier.
So Kirksey's got 5 ints and 3 sacks. He's got 80 tackles.
Damn, already?
Yeah,
Jeez.
couple fumbles and touchdown.
That touchdown's probably crucial because one of my
Who's
players,
under him? Miller.
under him it's Von Miller and then Justin Houston.
Miller's got like half his tackles, but he's got almost 20 sacks. He's got 18 and a half.
Von Miller has 3 forced fumbles, and Houston has 0.
Alright, let's see here.
So I guess in that category, it's going off different. Von Miller's obviously a sack beast right now. Kirksey's just a tackling machine, and he's got
Von Miller
a
is
couple of
currently the
just
sack
sacks.
machine though, and so is Justin Houston, and I think that's why also Cliff Averill is in here. I just ordered the AFC by sacks, and Von Miller has 18 and a half compared to.
I wonder if Kirksey's at the top because of his tackles. He's got 5 ends too, but I mean that's not that much. You know?
The leader in the AFC has 8, and so he's tied for third. Or
Okay, so yeah, 7 ends is the leader.
or fourth, sorry, 765. Yeah.
Man, ends seem a little down, even though they're not. Huh?
Yeah.
Whatever. Let's see.
The FUM game.
Okay.
Von Miller and
Yeah, I mean,
Averill.
I don't
So
know.
like this race is
think-
still a little tight too. This defensive
Yeah.
player of the year is still tight because Von Miller's crushing the sack game, and you have Kirksey just crushing tackles. Period, sacks and everything involved. The INTs are probably playing huge, and you said he has a touchdown,
Yeah.
2 forced fumbles, a safety, 58-yard return. So. Does he have the longest return? No. He has
For
maybe for a linebacker.
I don't know if
That's
really
Todd
matters,
Davis.
to be honest with you.
But he has the second longest return touchdown as a linebacker, for what it's worth.
The offensive rookie of the year for the AFC.
Oh, that's a runaway too.
don't-
If the MVP is a runaway, then there's no way that O'Roy can't be.
Well, the MVP's Jay. Oh yeah, well
Or
probably.
Josh Dobbs.
Or Josh Dobbs, yeah. So Josh Dobbs is in the NFC, so that's his award in the NFC for sure.
Yeah, that doesn't even. That's without saying. Like Dalvin Cook would have to have like miracles on the last 6 games to.
Yeah, Fournette,
that.
Mahomes, and McCaffrey are the leaders in the Rookie of the Year on the AFC.
Oh, we never. I didn't glance at the O'Roy yet. I was still in the defensive menu. All right, let's take a look at the AFC O'Roy. So for O'Roy, Fournette, yeah. Fournette's putting a good season together, and Mahomes, I haven't seen his stats. Let's see. So what do you got? You got 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a quarterback. That's a nice balanced race. I like that. It's not loaded up on one position versus the other. I like that there's some parity here. It kind of lets you have to compare different metrics to see what is more valuable.
I don't think McCaffrey's gonna win it. Purely because the Bengals also have John Ross in there. So I think he's probably pretty balanced.
Oh, like neither one of them will
because-
be able to run away with it. That makes sense.
Yeah, because he's so balanced, he's not going to be able to.
So that leaves
run away with
Fournette,
it.
Mahomes, and
Zay Jones is the next guy up, but
so where's Mahomes?
I don't know,
Mahomes is 5th in the AFC for passing yards. His percentage is 66, which has him in 8th. Well, among starting quarterbacks has him in 6th.
I think
Not
it's
bad.
very hard for, at least in the first year, for anything outside of QB or halfback to win this type of award.
Yep.
Fair
Just
enough.
because there's so many of them.
Dalton. Mayholm's putting up a pretty solid passer rating of 108.8. So I think this is probably between Mayholm's and Fournette as is. Let me look at Zay Jones. What's Zay Jones putting together? Close to 1,000 through 10 games. That's not bad. He is
I mean,
third
touchdowns
in
does
the
he have though?
AFC. He has 8.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough
No, not to pass
unless he
Fournette.
gets. Yeah,
If he got maybe like
no,
15, then they could look at him as like a Randy Mosser, but even that I don't think will do it.
yeah.
So yeah, again, I revert back to my earlier statement for Mayholmes and Fournette. All right, now for Depoy or D-Roy, I mean. There's see now here's an interesting one because on what you just said for having two players from the same team hold each other back, which one of these two players is gonna outperform the other? Because you have one and two D-Roy from the Browns in Miles Garrett and Jabril Peppers, who pick sixed me also, just
Well,
for the record.
defense is different because you're not looking to get touches, Miles Garrett's on the line. His big thing is tackles for losses, sacks, maybe even ends. I don't know what he plays. Um, Peppers is probably ends and tackles. Um, so I think I mean, and being Irma as well with the Browns, and him being a fantastic defensive mind user, uh, he'll probably get the top two spots. I don't think this is going to change.
Yeah,
Marcus May,
Marcus
Jets. I
May
don't
is
know.
actually the Jets player, so any insight on
Yeah.
what you've done with him?
Using would be the biggest thing.
What I don't even know what does he play? What does he?
He's a safety, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, safety. He's like free safety because it's him and Adams.
Uh,
That's the biggest thing. A lot of projects on that team, a lot of but the biggest thing is that they're young, which is nice. Adams and May, really big, heavy hitters.
oh, okay. Well, we got a lot of ints on him, I assume.
A couple, but I think the biggest thing is fumbles, and I also like to change my coach. What is the coach strategy or the coaching adjustments? That is.
Yeah.
So to start the game, I put everything to a certain setting. I'm not going to go ahead and start telling what it is, but I put it to a certain setting, and then throughout the course of the game, depending on how the game goes, I will change it. That way they can continue to either go for the ball or be conservative with it. Just different adjustments that I'll make. That's kind of the biggest thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever it is working for you.
It's kind of.
Do you
I'm
think
looking
you're
at
gonna
your.
top Peppers or Garrett?
That would be tough, just because with Garrett, I mean, it's kind of easy, not easier, but you can get sacks, and I'm not really a big person on blitzing safeties. So you can
Uh-huh.
get your sacks, your fumbles, fumble recoveries is also a big one, especially if they fumble at the line of scrimmage, the running back or the wide receiver. And I typically like to drop back my safeties. I don't really keep them in the box. So it'll be tough, but I'm not going to count them out.
Looking at some of these stats, you have a chance of overtaking Peppers with a couple turnovers. If May can get some turnovers and maybe six one of them, but Garrett's TFL and sack count is going to be pretty hard to
Definitely.
catch. But the one thing that might hold him back if either Peppers or Marcus May is able to do is generate more turnovers because obviously being on the D line you're not going to grab any interceptions and he's only forced one fumble and hasn't recovered one. And even Jabril Peppers has forced a fumble and has also grabbed 3 INTs and he's only 7 tackles behind total. But again, TFLs and sacks being currently what's putting Garrett ahead of the pack there.
Hmm.
But I think, like I said, I think if a few of your turnovers might turn into 6, then you might have a chance of possibly taking him over. Jabril Peppers has 2
Well,
touchdowns.
definitely taking that into consideration these coming games in.
Yeah. Like I'm actually in the exact same spot you're in. I'm third place in the D-Roy race for the NFC. I'm trying to catch up to Hassan Reddick, but
Hmm.
he's got a huge
Do you want
lead right now.
to move to NFC? I mean, unless you want to do the best for
I
each
wasn't gonna run
position.
through all the positions. I feel like that'll take way too long. Maybe save that for a different day. Um, but over here, we already said that O'Roy was going to be a runaway for Dobbs. Mixon and Cook aren't even close. So, uh, oh, that's interesting. There's a flip
What's
flop.
up?
Last week, Hassan Reddick was first place in this, and now Xavier Woods has taken first place. So this is pretty interesting. And then, like I said, I'm in third place in this race with Gerard Davis. And then there's Takaris McKinley and Rudy Ford. So 2 players from the Cardinals here at 2 and 5, respectively. So let's see what's setting them apart from everybody. Let's start with the leader, Xavier Woods for the Cowboys. Alright, let's see. 31 solos, 14 assists for 45. Second place on the team behind Sean Lee. 5 INTs. 3 forced fumbles. 2 touchdowns. I think these touchdowns are what's separating some of these people with, like, not a ridiculous sack count. Because I'm pretty sure... Where are we? Hassan Reddick has 6.5 sacks. 4 picks. Jeez. 1 forced fumble. No touchdown. So what's being weighted heavier here? Because it's got to be those 2 touchdowns that's separating them. Because their picks, there's only 1 INT difference. He has 6.5 sacks. I think they forced the same amount of fumbles. No, 3 forced fumbles. So Woods has forced 2 more fumbles and created 2 touchdowns. Anybody throwing 2 cents into this one?
Um, no, I mean, obviously he's having a good year, so I still think there's a lot of time and there's a lot of weeks left to. We're only what, almost 2/3 of the way in.
Just about.
Yeah, just
So
about. Once
I
this week
feel
is
like there's going to
finished.
be a lot of changes, man. I think this is
Yeah,
where
there's still
people are really
room.
going to start to
There's still
put in
room
time and
for a lot of
redo
things.
playbooks and make adjustments. And people who are not going to make the playoffs are going to try to do new things so they can start fresh for next year. And it's going to be definitely very interesting to see what's going to happen with stats and everything.
Fair enough, fair enough. We lost connection with Aries, and he's just informed me he will not be able to make it back. So we wish him well with the rest of his day, and hope to get him on a future episode. So, with Gerard Davis, he's leading my team in tackles, so that probably means something in this list. 3 INTs and 3 forced fumbles, none recovered by himself. But again, I think what's keeping me or him and Reddick behind the pack is lack of turning those turnovers into touchdowns. And hopefully I
Hmm.
can change that over these last few games and get him that boost of getting the D-Roy.
Hmm.
So, yeah, let's. Is there any? I think is that it for awards without going through the best players?
I think we kind of covered it, yeah.
And I think one of you guys was saying that you wanted to go in on some of the trades that have transpired through the season for people that are just catching up with us.
Yeah, in case people don't know or don't really pay attention to the trades, just kind of go over the top ones. Cowboys trade Collins, the tackle,
Are
to
we
the
gonna start?
Steelers,
Should we start from the beginning or should we start
like week
from
one.
like the most recent? Yeah, like what would you suggest? Should we start from like earliest to latest?
Sure, yeah, we could go down to. I'm just trying to do like. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the Watkins one because that happened in real life.
Yeah,
Um, I think Mackenzie Alexander, even though he's not a big player, but him going to the Rams is kind of good. He's a really good, fast, young corner from the
yeah.
Vikings.
I like Mackenzie. He was a
Um,
Clemson boy.
Carson Palmer going to the Texans. I mean, I think they give up a third round. I think that's kind of steep. I think if I'm reading this right, that's what it says. Third round for Carson Palmer. I feel like that's
I'm trying to get there. I'm still scrolling down here. I'm in week 4, 3. Holy hell. So many moves. Alright,
actually I
so
think they might have given up a third and a fourth. I don't know.
alright, let's see what's going on here. Alright. So anybody important? Christian Jones? No, it's wait, is that's not the one that's John Jones' brother, right? That's Chandler Jones? Or are they both John Jones brothers?
No clue.
I know John Jones brothers are both in the NFL. So yeah, sorry, you were actually listing off.
Just the Cardinals trading their quarterback away to the Texans. And then the 49ers traded Navarro Bowman to the Cardinals. That's a big one.
Mm,
Um, I know I moved both of my backup running backs, Deion Lewis and White, for third round picks, current third round picks. Just because I felt like I had too many now, I feel like I don't have any. Probably should have done that.
trade regret.
Thomas Ross to the Cowboys is interesting. Um, I don't get that one because he's got Zeke and plenty of other running backs, but who knows? Probably just preparing for injury. Um,
Kenyon Drake to Bills is kind of interesting, depending on if he's trying to develop them or just use them for depth. I mean, a lot of people like to pay attention to Alabama running backs, even though they never actually pan out, except for Mark Ingram.
right.
Um,
Panthers traded Jonathan Stewart to the Chargers. I think he's kind of a good backup to have. And then
yep, for sure, for sure.
Star Latui went to the Bills. Byron Jones, I think, is huge. I had him last year because I was the Cowboys, and he was fantastic. I ended up moving him from safety to corner, and he easily averaged like 5 picks a season. He's super athletic, 99 jump,
Dang.
6 foot. Yeah, he can, and he's a hard hitter. So he actually picked me off today when I was playing. So he's a really good player. And then we already talked about Collins, Tyrod Taylor going to the Cardinals. Because his guy got hurt, Chad Kelly.
Yep.
Tyrod's actually having a pretty good season.
Well, so are the rest of
I
the
picked
Cardinals,
up,
for that matter.
yep, I picked up Brandon Graham. Just because I had a couple injuries go down on my defense, and I
Mhm.
just needed something, some star power. So I know that the Eagles were trying to move him, and picked him up for a future, I think first and a fourth. So I mean,
Yep.
he's still 29 years old. He'll give me something for the next couple seasons. He actually had 2 sacks my last game, which is good.
See, it's funny you mentioned that he's 29 because that's the same age like Golden Tate's at, and the problem I'm having with Golden Tate is that I don't know what my long term plan is going to be with him, because he's only at
Hmm.
quick development, but he's already
Oh,
29, so most of his shit's like relatively pricey to upgrade. And then at the same time, though, he's very well balanced across the board, but doesn't really excel at any one specific thing, which is like I can get through it for a few years, but I don't know how to plan for it moving forward. It's the same thing with Marvin Jones. It's like I think he's 27 and pretty much the same thing. Like he's relatively solid across the board, but there's no one feature that makes him like a go-to for this particular situation.
I think you need to look at obviously free agency and see if you're rebuilding or you have the pieces to make a run in the
See,
division. Obviously, the Packers and the Vikings are running strong right now, and Bears are going to be coming out of a rebuilding process. So I mean, I would probably move those guys for some picks and give yourself 2 or 3 years to develop.
well, I'm like, yeah, based on this particular season, the outlook is pretty grim because obviously starting 0 and 6 isn't what you want to get, but it is what it is. You got to work with the ship you have, and I've put together good contests against some relatively reputable players. I went down to the wire with Steelers, who I think is not only like a well seasoned player, but also like that team unit is just stronger than my team unit. So I
Hmm.
was pleased to be competing in that game. And then Brown's sitting at 8-2, and I was able to come in and squeak out a win. And granted, the biggest reason for that is that his quarterback really, really, really held him back. Like it was awful. I feel I would have definitely broke a controller if 18 of my 20 passes went wide everywhere. Um, but that being said, I was able to squeak away a tough W. And against the Bears yesterday, um, I felt like through the hurricane that was there, 17-mile-an-hour winds, rainstorm, um, throwing the ball, which is my go-to game plan, wasn't working so well. And so changing to get out of my comfort zone and pounding the rock a lot more seemed to be in order just due to the weather. And it ended up working. And I won with a game plan that I'm not very comfortable with. And in that, I feel like I can compete, not necessarily 3 years down the line. I could technically, I feel like, have competed this season if I was here from square one,
Hmm.
but I don't feel like I need to rebuild for next year. I feel like next year I can make a very strong playoff run, and having an early to mid round draft pick is going to just fuel that run better, I think. So, as far as that goes, I'm not too worried about it, but long term, Golden Tate's probably going to be moving in maybe his fourth year of his 5 year contract.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Lael Collins to the Steelers. Back to get back on the trade uh, the trade block because we just wrapped up your Brandon Graham trade for picks. Um, does Josh Gordon count as like
No,
a
I mean his development's slow, and he's what 26, 27.
poor
You're really
guy,
just getting what
man?
you're getting. So
I really like that story hurts me, man. I really liked Josh Gordon. It was nice to see
yeah,
the Browns have something work well for them for once, but it was not meant to be. Damn, the Steelers gave up a first round pick for Lael Collins.
I mean he's worth it.
They I won't disagree
Definitely.
with that, but considering
You
he
don't
went
think so?
undrafted, that's pretty value for the Cowboys, I'd say. Not that they got him through an undrafted, just kind of how it works out.
Yeah, I think you solidify your O line if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Really, the only weak spot in that O line is Villanueva, which I'm assuming is where Collins slid in. So then you have Collins, DeCastro, Pouncey. I think it's Reuben Foster or Ramon Foster. I'm sorry, and then Marcus Gilbert. Like that's a pretty solid O line. And obviously the
Yeah.
Cowboys already have an O line that speaks for itself. So moving one piece isn't going to kill you, and you get a first
No.
rounder.
And
Yeah.
his impact blocking is 94.
Whew.
He already has the speed, the awareness, like everything else is in the green. Strength 88. He's 24 years old with quick development. I mean,
I'd
I
say both
definitely,
teams won in that trade.
yeah. He still has 3 years left. Total salary of 7.5. So you also have
Oh
Collins for the
my
next three
lord.
years.
For cheap?
Super cheap.
Oh
Super
my
cheap.
lord. Oh, that's wild. Some depth moves putting Jalen's. Oh, the last trade was Jalen Strong to the. Hey, wait a minute. That doesn't even make sense.
Steelers. Did you guys look at the Steelers' offensive line? It's unbelievable.
I'll go look at it now.
They have 83, 88, 85, 91, and 91.
I
Yeah,
pulled
it's a solid
I
O-line.
pulled Marcus Gilbert in what's it called, Ultimate Team.
Oh, really?
That was pretty sweet. I'm trying to sell him. I want Jalen Ramsey Team of the Week.
Oh, Jonathan Cooper is who's starting. Oh, he's actually pretty decent. I'm just looking. I think, well, the
Dang.
Steelers' offensive line right now is probably better than the Cowboys, just because they don't have any holes.
His center isn't that good though.
Pouncey?
I guess he's
Pouncey's really
injured.
good.
He's not
Oh, is
starting
he?
him.
Are you sure?
I'm looking at his depth chart and I see Kyle Friend.
Maybe he's just hurt. I just went to rosters and I'm just looking through rosters.
Yeah, I was in his depth chart. Maybe I'm gonna go check the injury report.
I'm kind of
I
excited to
think
get
Pouncey is hurt. I think I saw that the other day.
I'm excited to get injuries changed.
Yeah, he is. He
Um,
pulled his groin. He's out 3 weeks. Same
it was only fair that we kept it. I mean, because there was a lot of
ones that had
guys
already
that already
happened.
hurt, so we'll just change it next year.
Yeah, I've been lucky so far. When I inherited this team, I had 3 injuries, and they're all over now, so it's all right. I can salvage some stuff. All right. Feel like that kind of runs the well dry for where we're at now in week 12. We uh, we can definitely move on to some real life topic here. Did you guys hear about Josh Norman?
Oh,
Yeah, he got
he,
hurt.
Yeah, He
yeah.
uh, he fractured his rib and he ended up with some kind of lung damage, is what I read, which is pretty
Hey,
crazy
that's what
because
happened to Andrew Luck like 3 years ago, and he ended up playing 6 games.
that's wild. I'm pretty sure what's it called? I think the same thing happened to Crabtree 2 weeks ago, not this week. The one when they played
Honestly,
Redskins.
I know I'm in the minority for this, but I think Josh Norman's overrated
Ah, overrated in what sense?
in real life. I just don't think he's that good. Like, yeah, I guess he's a ball hawk, but I feel like he gets beat on man coverage a lot.
Hmm.
And especially the quick guys, he can't cover them at all. He's more of a zone corner than a man. And I know that a lot of people would disagree with me, but it's just what I've always thought.
No,
Obviously, he's a big loss.
it's not unfair because I mean like everybody's got a take. Like I've had that take for a while on Richard Sherman because to me the term shut down corner means that you play man. Now,
Yeah.
if you're in zone and you're still not allowing any stats, that doesn't mean you're not a good corner. I just don't apply the term shutdown to you because when I think shutdown, I think Dion, Champ Bailey, Darrell Revis, and like all these players that like played man coverage, and so
The two most underrated corners in the NFL right now are both in the same division. It's Xavier Rhodes
and
and
Darius
Darius
Slay.
Slay.
I think Xavier Rhodes is the
Xavier
best
Rhodes,
corner in the NFL right now,
he
personally.
shuts everyone down. Brown, Mike Evans, it doesn't matter who
Mike
you throw at him.
Thomas didn't matter yet.
Last year I went to the game. They were playing the Giants. Odell had like 3 catches and he got under his skin. He got under Mike Evans' skin when they played the Bucks. Evans was throwing a tantrum on the sideline.
Yeah, I seen
Xavier
that.
Rhodes is fantastic. Super underrated.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I love his nickname, Rhodes Closed. It's so like perfect for what he does.
Yeah.
But man, it's amazing how fast Jalen Ramsey has gotten himself to NFL speed.
Yeah, he's really good too.
Um, Going into last week, I don't know what his stats were at the end of last week, as per Pro Football Focus, but he was only allowing 8 yards per reception.
Yeah.
What? I seen another one. When targeting Jalen Ramsey, opposing quarterbacks have like a passer rating of like negative something, and then they put for comparison that throwing the ball away gets you 38 points on the QB rating.
I mean, AJ Bouye ain't no chump either.
Ooh, AJ, like man, that is one ridiculously stacked defense. I don't know how they're not just like holding everyone to like 10 points a game.
Yeah, they have a lot of pieces.
Like I can't name one weakness on that defense, I don't think. Maybe nickel corner. And that's Aaron Colvin, if you were wondering. And Aaron
That'll be a
Colvin
good
is,
test for them this weekend. Then
they're playing who this weekend?
they play the Steelers.
Ooh, oh yeah, what was it? What was the stat they were putting up? Both teams allow like the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, and or was it? I don't know. Like I forget exactly what it was, but it had something to do with both of their like defenses showing up in one aspect. So
Yep,
people, I
really
guess,
good
are
defenses
expecting
going
low
after one
scoring.
another.
I feel like Roethlisberger's kind of regressed.
The thing with
You think so?
Yeah.
Roethlisberger that I've always faulted him for, like I think he's great, he's clutch, but he's always had a penchant for holding the ball too long.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
And
last-
as a Steeler fan, I would not want him to change that because I've seen how many games we've won because of it. I've also seen how many games we've lost because of it, but the ones that we've won outweigh the ones that we've lost. I agree he does hold it. There's some plays where I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But even going back to like Super Bowl 43 against the Cardinals, there was plays where he was holding it way too
the
long,
thing
but
is, you're
still
absolutely
dotting him
right.
up.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, but
Right, but
I
that's when he
think
was
now
faster.
I was gonna say I think
He's
now
so slow
that he's
now.
aging up, it's definitely hurting his game now more than it's helping. Like before, it's like he's waiting, he's trying to extend his play, and then he's gonna either break out for like that 7 to 12 yards, or he's gonna throw this cannon of an arm down the field. But
Oh, agreed. Definitely,
don't know
definitely.
if he
And that
still
what I
has
love is
both
that
of
they've
those.
gotten what they've been able to do is they have more weapons. Whereas when he had to do all that,
That's right.
Hines
I
Ward
agree.
was an amazing wide receiver, but wasn't a burner.
No.
And and Willie Parker also really good speed back, but wasn't really good with his hands. So again, we don't have the perfect offense, but hopefully he can learn to trust his players a little
Take
bit
what you
more.
can
Because
get,
that's
yeah.
kind of
Take what you can get instead
I
of
think he's
forcing
just
it.
burned out. I think Tomlin has burned him out. I think he has no respect for Tomlin, and I think he's tired of Antonio Brown being a little crybaby. But the Steelers'
His body's
offense,
also
in my
been injured
opinion,
so much, though.
who has?
oh man.
Ben Roethlisberger
there was a
through so
game-
many injuries that
There
he
was a
played
game
through.
where we played the Ravens and he had a broken foot and a broken nose and we still came away with that game. It's intense. Like definitely, he's got some. He's got to change his game. I mean, it's too kind of late in his career to ask him to change it completely. But definitely, that's where we're having a great defense again. Well, I don't want to say they're great, but having a better defense than we've had the past few seasons is definitely going to help out.
I think he's got so much, but it's got to be like most talented offense in the NFL. Like
Up
it's
to down, like top to
unbelievable.
bottom, yeah, for
Martavis
sure.
Bryant, Antonio Brown. You got Juju in the slot. Obviously Bell. You have a good offensive line. You got a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, I think they should just be destroying teams.
And you have
As
James
like
Conner as your backup, man. That dude's
exactly. They
oh
need to just
man,
put up
what
like
a great
35,
story that
40
guy
points a
is.
game. But I just think
Yeah,
he's just
they're
burned out.
struggling right now.
He's just burned out. Hopefully they'll get it together because I'm not a Steelers fan, but I think it'll be kind of fun to see this offense click in full gear. Um,
Yeah.
because they have so much talent.
Yeah, I agree with that. It definitely, as a person who's not a fan of that team, it definitely would be fun to watch that offense work to its full potential.
Yeah.
Kind of like when the Rams in the early 2000s were just firing on all cylinders at every single position when they had Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Oz Hakeem, Marshall Falk, and I can't remember who their tight end was, but no, they were filthy. I think they even had Ricky Prohl on that team. Man, that
Who is this? Davis? Who is this Davis Webb guy? 6'5".
so Davis Webb is a
Rookie.
quarterback who went to Cal. Now, I might this might not be considered a popular opinion. I don't see a huge difference between him and Jared Goff because Davis Webb transferred to Cal, I think from Texas Tech.
Hmm.
Because he ended up getting supplanted by Patty Mahomes at Texas Tech because he got injured. Patty came in. Patty did well. They didn't want to take out the hot hand, so he got Alex Smith. So he transferred to Cal and he had to sit his year. In that year, Jared Goff stunted and ended up going first in the draft. And then the next year, Davis Webb gets to play, and Davis Webb stunted, but nobody seemed to care. And I never really advocated that I thought Davis Webb would be like a high overall draft pick, but more so that what's his face? Jared Goff shouldn't be that high of a draft pick. I thought it was more the Cal system that looked really good, but I feel like Jared Goff is drafted based on his size and like tangibles more so than his at the time actual IQ in football. Because he's done well this
Yeah.
year compared to last year. So I mean, not everybody can come in year one and ball out like Jameis Winston or Cam Newton or RG3 or like who else really came in year one and just shat.
Dak.
Dak. The thing with Dak, I absolutely have the utmost respect. I just find it was so quietly like conservatively done. It wasn't like I felt like did he have like a lot of like 3 and 4 touchdown games in the air? Because like I thought his biggest thing was just that he wasn't turning the ball over, and it was all just like really smart football plays.
Well, I think he was definitely a game manager year one.
Which is nothing. There's
Um,
nothing wrong with that. Like don't let me try to like I don't want to sound like I'm knocking the guy. What
but
I
now
mean
he's
is like it
killing
just
it.
didn't seem as explosive. I guess is what I was trying to get at.
Right.
But yeah, no, definitely Dak would be somebody that killed it. How did Russell do in his first year?
I think he did. Didn't they go to the Super Bowl?
Russell Wilson?
I don't know about
Yeah,
as a
didn't they?
rookie.
First
I don't
year?
think as a rookie. That would be
No, he
pretty
wasn't a
big.
rookie when they.
But
I don't remember.
yeah. All right, let's move on to one of the interesting stories that kind of doesn't seem to ever end is Luck's health. That they say they've got him doing light practice this week. Um, Light practice apparently includes. Where is it here? I just had the
He was throwing the
story.
ball.
He was throwing the ball.
Yeah, I saw a video.
Okay. So now he's throwing the football. And they said he's not going to play this week, but they said that there is no timetable either. They just wanted to see what his improvement. They said that they could get him back this year, but what would you guys what would you guys do in that situation? I guess being the GM or the coach, specifically speaking, not Andrew Luck. Because obviously Andrew Luck wants to play, hasn't played in a while, but yeah, what would you guys do?
I would play him. I think you got to play him. I mean, when you think about when he was shut down, I think we mentioned it off air. He was shut down like 8 to 10 weeks left in last season. So if you shut him down all of this season and don't play him till training camp, preseason of next year, that's almost a year and a half, 2 years away from playing any real football.
And so
I
you
mean,
think
yeah,
that
as long as
by
they
real
don't
football
rush
you
him
mean
back
game,
like they
right?
always
Sorry,
do.
not to interrupt, but I just want to clarify on his statement. When you say real football, you mean game football, right? Like not practicing, training camp, like all that
Correct,
stuff.
like a game, yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry. Now continue.
I was just saying, like I mean, I wasn't on board with that, but I mean, it does make sense for him to kind of get in and knock off some rust and kind of start fresh. As long as they don't rush him back, and I think having Kelly back as the center, back from his injury, would be tremendous help because you just don't want him to get hit. And Jacoby Brissett, I'm not sure how long his contract is, but I think he's looked great because there's not a lot of talent on that team, and obviously they're rebuilding in.
Jacoby would
Either
have
you
two
trade
years
Luck and
left
get
after this. He would still be on his
okay.
rookie contract from the Patriots, and last year was his rookie year. Just so
I
you know.
think he's really good, and I think you either trade Jacoby at the end of the year or you trade Luck because there's it's kind of pointless to keep that much talent at quarterback position where you could move it and get pieces like get offensive linemen or get some defensive pieces. You need to either choose one or the other. Like the Colts guy who was in our league, Crimson Blade.
Hmm.
He's a friend of mine, and he's actually the biggest Colts fan. And me and him had this debate every single day, and he's completely off trading Luck. He's all in on Luck. Doesn't care too much about Jacoby, but thinks he's really good. So I think you need to take Jacoby, maybe move him to the 49ers because they need a quarterback, get some pieces back, some picks, and just really solidify that offensive line to build and protect Luck because he has had a lot of injuries.
You
Mhm.
mentioned the 49ers as a spot for Jacoby, but let's say hypothetically the option of trading Luck actually becomes materialized. What about
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo? Like, yes, they have
Yo,
Tyrod, but they haven't committed to give him long-term confirmation. And with how amazing their defense is, and they have a great, I'd say a good to great tight end in Charles Clay. He has flash in the pan greatness, but I think his floor is that he's a good tight end. And then you have a great young prospect in Zay Jones, and some decent playmakers around. I mean, obviously you have like one of the top five running backs in the NFL in LaShawn McCoy, and bringing in a quarterback like Andrew Luck could take a team that has been pretty much in the dumpster for like the last what 14, what is it, 99. This is the last time they
yeah,
made
a
the
long time
playoffs.
basically.
So
Well, here's the thing: they're not going to bring in Luck if they win the division. Not that they're not going to win the division, but they're on fire. So
they've beat two of arguably the top 10 teams in the NFL with
okay,
absolutely no business to do so. Granted, I also
yeah.
agree with you. I do not think they will keep this steam up for the rest of the season, but they've proven that they are not to be taken lightly, regardless of whether people think that they were deciding to tank for the year when they traded everybody in that quick off-season flurry.
I just think Tyrod Taylor made. Not a huge fan of him, but he made a lot of good throws in the run. Um, Especially to Charles Clay, but they have nothing, man. They don't. Zay Jones, I guess, is a good prospect, but Jordan Matthews is going to be out of the league in the next year or two. He's way too
Oh,
injury prone, and
100%. But see, this
he's got
is
chronic knee problems.
mhm.
Just I don't know. They're not going to keep this up because there's no one to throw the ball. It's just Charles Clay and dump it off to LaShawn, and LaShawn he's got so much miles on him. Oh, well, maybe another good
But
year,
Buffalo's
but that's
always been
probably
good at
it.
drafting running backs too. Like they've given away like great running backs like McGahee. They've given away C.J. Spiller. They've given away Marshawn Lynch. They've given away Mike Gillisley. They've given away. They do not
Hey,
give a
Fred
fuck.
Jackson.
Fred Jackson,
Oh yeah, exactly.
they kept him forever, and then they gave him away when he got old. But they've always been able to keep a good stable of running backs. That's one position, like Buffalo and running backs is kind of like Pittsburgh and receivers. Pittsburgh always manages to find one diamond in the rough receiver every 2 to 3 drafts, and then let him go to another team and get more money because they don't want to pay him because they know they'll just find another one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, ever since Santonio Holmes, there's been at least one shipped out every 3 to 4 years because they just didn't want to pay them. Mike Wallace. Now they put Sammy Coates.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep, Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders is another one. Like Antoine Randall.
He was a
the
fun player
Steelers
to
just have
watch.
a ridiculous history
Randall
of just taking
he was fun to
wide
watch.
receivers.
And the wide
He
receiver
would throw the ball.
reverses, and he was there.
And now they have
Yep.
Juju. You were mentioning earlier they have Juju. So these guys are
I
ridiculous.
like that
at
they
picking their
involved
receivers.
Juju in the run game. I think like 2 weeks ago, where they gave him the ball inside the 2. He came in like a reverse, and they handed off, and he went like an inside zone run for a touchdown. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, no doubt. But
He's gonna be exciting to watch.
what else?
I also just read that Frank Gore is 3 yards away from beating Eric Dickerson for 7th all time in rushing.
Yeah, he was pretty
Crazy.
close.
That
I was
guy's
gonna say he
a
was pretty
that
close
guy's
last
a
week.
damn machine.
Yeah, honestly, he just doesn't break down. That dude's
That's
like,
crazy for a team that's lost their starting quarterback and there's not really anything going well for them. You can always count on Frank Gore.
Yeah, he's so impressive.
like, I think y'all remember Bernie Mac, R.I.P. had that Mr. 3000 movie.
Yeah,
I feel like
Yep.
Frank Gore should be like Mr. 1000. Like,
dude.
no matter what, you can
have-
count on Frank Gore to run for 1,000 yards.
I have a Madden 2005 like catalog or game, whatever you want to call it. And those old little magazines, gamer guides you flip through, they give you like
Yeah. I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and the 49ers have Frank Gore in Madden 2005 as one of their like future stars and like best players.
That's funny.
McNabb was on the cover.
I thought that was really interesting. He needs like 860 something odd yards to move into fifth place.
Yeah, Frank Gore's a monster, a machine.
What do you guys think about the Vikings potentially? Obviously, these are rumors trading back for AP.
I've also heard that.
I didn't hear that.
Since
So
the Saints don't use them at all.
So what would the? So wait,
obviously
then.
picks.
But I don't understand. Wasn't the whole purpose that they didn't want to give AP a big contract, and they gave him a big contract in New Orleans?
Right, but he also wanted to still be the guy. You know, and he's not even half of a guy. You know, at the Saints,
how could he not have known? How could he not have known that going to New Orleans that he is not going to be the guy? When has New Orleans ever had a one running back?
No, when
some people don't learn. I mean,
when has New Orleans ever had a running back that doesn't catch the ball?
Right.
Again, though,
I guess you look at it like, oh man, I'm AP. Like they're gonna change the offense for me. Like you're just thinking that like as an ego. I mean, you're never gonna go into a team and be like, oh, I'm gonna be the backup, or I'm gonna be the
It's not
guy who
about
only
being a
gets 16
backup.
carries.
It's just that they do a committee. It's like I can think of every year where at least 3 running backs are standing out. Like when they had Reggie Bush, it was Reggie Bush, Deuce McAllister, and Pierre Thomas. Right now it's Travaris Cadet, Adrian Peterson, and what's his face, the rookie, Alvin Kamara.
I think Cadet's gone, isn't he?
Maybe.
Okay, Kamara
I think he'd be
is the
satisfied
future.
if he was just getting some decent.
He's
not even getting
Chris
anything.
Ivory was in there. Like a whole bunch of people. Like it's always been a group. So like I just don't understand why he couldn't see that was the dynamic that was destined when going to such a team. Like
He
realistically, his
chased,
best bet was
man.
going to
He chased the
Houston.
money.
His best
He
bet was
chased
going
the
to
money.
Houston. Like,
And I think running back by committee would be fine if you didn't have another 3 running backs. I think he was thinking that he'd at least be number 2, but he's not even number 4.
yeah,
No.
I mean, I think there was a stat that said that he barely has 16 carries over the quarter of the season, and he's carried the ball 16 times in a game for the Vikings at least like 30 times in his career. That's
Yeah.
insane to me.
and he's the kind of running back that you need to get going. You can't just give him spot carries. He's not that kind of running back. He's the kind of guy that needs to get his engine up there. Like he gets stronger the more carries he takes. He's one of those like pound the rock kind of players.
And the Vikings don't have any healthy running backs right now because
Does
Latavius
Murray
is
hurt?
recovering from off-season ankle surgery. He said it still hurts, and McKinnon
McKinnon's
just
not
got
good
hurt.
enough. Oh, he got hurt too?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, he's a little banged up, and McKinnon has been given so many opportunities to be decent, and he just hasn't showed up.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I
What about a
think
trade,
that'd be a very interesting trade.
What about a trade if not for AP, someone cheaper like Jacksonville, TJ Yeldon.
Ivory,
No, TJ
that
Yeldon.
would be kind of cool,
Because
but
they're not using him at all because Fournette is their multi-purpose back, and then Ivory is their change of pace back. TJ Yeldon's lost in the mix because they have Corey Grant as their speedster now.
yeah,
So he's kind of lost in the mix, and his only issue over there is that he's been he's not been available at all times. But pretty sure he's still on his rookie contract. So if I was looking for a running back and I'm Minnesota, that'd be the direction I'd be looking instead of paying a lot for AP, who
I don't think you'd have to pay a lot, being that he's
No.
cheap and you're not using him. Whereas like Yeldon,
No,
I
but
can't remember his age, but I know he's
if
younger.
you trade for him, you have to take the contract that the Saints gave him, right? Like isn't that how that works?
yeah, but
'Cause
him and
that's
Cook
why-
would be such a good duo.
That's why the Browns took Osweiler, is because they had the money to be able to pay him and cut
Right.
him and live with it. So what I'm saying is, it's like if you're looking for a back to give you depth in the meantime, you're better suited going for TJ Yeldon on price than
I think it makes sense financially, but then next year you're gonna have the same problem that like the Saints have, is you're gonna have Yeldon, Cook, Murray, McKinnon. You're gonna have all these. I mean, it's not like a bad problem to have, but whereas AP would probably just be like a band-aid.
See, but then again, it's like at that point, cutting 2 of those players is not expensive. Like it wouldn't hit your salary cap that hard because one is still on a rookie contract in TJ Yeldon. You're not cutting Dalvin Cook because he's supposed to be your future. Poor guy, non-contact. And then who's it? You have Latavius Murray. I don't know what his contract looks like, but
It's not expensive, but it's still something. I think if AP was to go to a team, it would make sense for him to go to the Packers.
That's what I've also heard. I've also heard of that too.
yeah.
Everyone's
very
started,
interesting.
and it's a good back for the Packers. It would make sense. It's a winning team right away.
It'd be like a Brett Favre going to the Vikings. Now AP's going to the
Yeah.
Packers. That'd be interesting.
Well, boys, I gotta go. I want to thank you for your time. It's been fun. So
Damn, we messed
of
up.
course.
Hold on a second before you go. We messed up. I just checked the DMs. We actually messed up. How did we get through the entire trade segment and not mention McCaffrey and Mixon?
Well, we kind of brought it up, but I think it kind of just got negated.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
That's
feel like it's
I think
pretty-
I think the trade rubbed some teams the wrong way because they felt like McCaffrey's such a big piece for the future of the Panthers that maybe he shouldn't have gotten moved the first year. That's
Isn't
what I
Mixon?
just heard.
I haven't seen his ratings. Isn't Mixon pretty decent though?
the difference was
Yeah,
the
no,
no, they're
like,
the difference was
numbers-wise,
the
they're even.
Superstar versus
Right.
I think normal was for Mixon.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I don't think I was around for the backlash that came with that trade. I was just interested to know what the argument was, pro and con.
I don't really,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like if it's a running back for a running back and someone was willing to give away extra shit and the person's happy with what he gets, on both sides. I don't see why it has to be that big.
I mean, you're the GM of your team, right? Like, do whatever you want, and especially if it gets approved. Like, it is what it is. Like, I was like, wow, it's kind of shocking. I don't care. You do what you do in Madden to make your team better, but I just know that it got some backlash.
Some heat. Yeah, anything will. I mean, even you're gonna probably hear some stuff over the course of the draft. You'll hear heat about why this team drafted this, for us. But definitely, yeah, I think it was really good today.
All right, boys.
Cool.
Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll see if we can get a couple guys on tomorrow and bring back episode 3. Good luck with your games if you haven't played them, and we'll catch you all later.
See you guys.